Welcome back again, guys. I made some notes on 3 keys to a healthy relationship that I wanted to share with you. Maybe you might find it useful in your own life, but these are the notes that I made on it. I've been able to study a lot of people who've been in incredible relationships, primarily people who've been in relationships for more than 15 years or more and are happily married. And of course, when I say happily married, I mean they classify themselves to be happily married, because a successful relationship means different things to different people. So technically speaking, they have to define whether they believe that they're happy or not. And that's really the only measurement we can use as to whether they have a successful marriage or not. But we can use the duration of their marriage as an indicator to see whether, of course, somebody is in a long relationship, a long marriage. I thought this might be useful to you, but essentially, there are 3 things that I found, particularly with couples who have been together a long time, that they exude, that they exhibit, that maybe for you, if you're looking to sustain a long relationship with your partner, you might want to look to practice some of these, and they may be able to, of course, help you improve your relationship. Now, like with anything, I always say to people, look, there is no guarantee of success, even though you may practice these things. Life is really weird in that there are some principles and some rules and some keys that if you practice, you're guaranteed to become successful. So for example, we know that if you go on top of a building and you jump off it, you're guaranteed to fall. You're guaranteed to fail, right? We know that if you take a plant and you water and a seed, and you water it and you put it into sunlight, that it will grow. But then there are times when we work hard, we do everything we're supposed to, and things go wrong. So I always like to put that caveat in things, in that I don't want you to think that just because you've done certain things that it guarantees success. It doesn't. It'd be wonderful if it did, but it doesn't. So let's go through the three keys, and I hope you can find them useful in some way. So the first key that I found with people who have been together a long time and are happy is empathy. Now, when it comes to empathy, I think a lot of us misconstrue empathy in thinking that empathy has to be this warm, it has to be this positive way of being, but I disagree. Of course, that is an element of it, but I think empathy can come as in terms of just sitting there and actually listening to your partner and listening to their truth. A lot of people don't realize that one of the highest acts that you can give another human being is to recognize their existence, is to basically sit there and just be with somebody. People don't quite understand how powerful that is. And when you have a couple who have been in a really difficult situation in their relationship, in their lives, and they are volatile and they are hateful of each other, sometimes them just attending counseling, sometimes them just sitting there and listening to their partner's truth in itself is empathy, in itself is recognizing the other person's humanity. That in itself can do so much more good than people recognize. Just to actually sit there and listen to the other person and to accept that actually, yes, do you know what? Maybe my version of the truth is a truth, but it isn't necessarily the truth. It isn't the totality of the view, the world in which it actually exists. I've said to people many times that it is possible for 2 people to be right at the same time. And I think this is one of the philosophies that I myself have had to develop and understand, that my truth is a truth, but it isn't necessarily the totality of the truth. And it is possible for me to be right and for what I've gone through to be validated and to be true, and what you've gone through to also be true and validated. It doesn't mean that I think when you're younger or immature, or you're not really progressed in your spirituality, in your thinking, in your maturity, it's very easy to only see the world as linear. The world is black and white. The world is like this or it's like that. But a lot of the time, the world is a lot more nuanced. It's a lot more complex than what a lot of us actually make it out to be. And so what I would share with you is maybe you might want to consider and look at, are you somebody who is empathetic in the relationships that you have? Are you somebody who, when your partner maybe does something, or forgets to do something, or does something which you don't agree with, do you come from the place of, perhaps it was a mistake. Maybe they didn't even realize how that was going to affect me. Maybe they didn't realize that was a big deal. Are you coming from that place, or are you coming from a place where you're like, they're going out to deliberately hurt me, they're going out to deliberately do things to me, they clearly forgot on purpose? Because a lot of people, that's not really how they are. Especially if you are in look, I think so much of life is about assessing and weighing things up. If you clearly are in a relationship with somebody and they've just lost their father, or they've just lost their mother, or they're going through a really stressful period, a transition in their life, you have to recognize that people will behave some type of way. But on the other hand, you also have to recognize that people can, at times, especially if they've been good people, they can make mistakes. People can mess up. People can give into the ego. People can give into impulse. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they're human, right? And I think there is a place for us to recognize that as being a truth as well. So that's the first one. Do you come from a place of empathy? Now, before I continue, one of the things that I want to say, which is something that I've noticed with a lot of people where we go wrong, is that we say, well, when they are empathetic, then I will become empathetic. But I challenge you to not come from that place, because I've realized this philosophy that a lot of people hold of, when they go first, I will then go. It doesn't work, right? We have to be pure in our intention and do the best that we can from the place that we are at. Somebody has to go first, right? And I encourage you, if you're listening to this, be the person who goes first. Be the person who does what is required to move the relationship forward. Don't be the kind of person who is stubborn, who is stagnant, right? Some people would rather lose, right, than actually do what is required and end up winning. Right. I say now I obviously work in a school, and one of the things that I say to students is sometimes you have to lose in order to win. A lot of people don't want to lose at all. And I say to the people, lose the little battle so you can win the war, win the relationship. Ultimately, who cares if you've lost this one? And the metaphor that I say to people, particularly those who are parents, is, look, you may be able to, make a point and show your child to make them look like an idiot and make them look like a fool, but you've then in the quest of doing that, you've lost the trust of the child, right? And we all know how trust works. Once you break it, it takes a lifetime to regain it all over again. You literally have to start from zero. So that's the first thing. Second thing is enthusiasm. And I know this may sound weird, but enthusiasm is one of those things that I think a lot of people don't really understand. Again, enthusiasm can be positive, but enthusiasm is really about intention. It's really about looking out for the positive in stuff, right? Half glass, half empty sort of philosophy. Enthusiasm is about being present. It is about asking questions of your other partner, right? I found so many people who are in relationships, and in their relationships, they don't ask questions of their partner. They don't, right? In fact, one of the things that is a sign to a signal to the fact that a relationship is going to end is when people start feeling entitled. Well, they say things like, well, they should know that I don't like that. Well, they should know that this is the way that I want it. In saying that, the person is coming from a place where they're essentially, number one, entitled. They're operating from a place of ego. But higher than that is the person doesn't recognize that people change, that people grow, that we develop. You cannot be with the same person 10 years later as you married. And if you are, then there is a problem. I have what I call the 6 stages of life, which are essentially steps to show people the next level of life that they can go to. The most basic level is what's called survival, and the stage above survival is security. And then above security is freedom. And what I say to people all the time is that a lot of people get stuck as security because the difference between security and freedom is risk. A lot of people don't want to risk what they don't know. Right? Now, that's absolutely valid, and I'm not saying that, of course, you should just go taking risks everywhere in your relationship, but there is a degree of risk that has to be taken in terms of vulnerability, in terms of actually expressing your truth, right? People forget that sometimes saying nothing actually costs you more in the long run, because sometimes saying nothing will make you resentful, it will make you bitter, and people can sense that in a relationship, right? You hold a grudge and people can sense that something isn't right, and then your behaviors are then going to start coming from a place of resentment instead of coming from a place of maybe embarrassment. And I know that may sound weird, like, of course, what I would rather not be embarrassed than not tell the truth. But actually, sometimes you would. Sometimes you would rather say to your partner, I'd like to try this thing in the bedroom, or I'd love for us to go and try this new activity, which may be embarrassing, and your partner might reject you and might say, that's not for me. And again, this goes back to understanding that just because your partner has rejected one thing, it doesn't mean that they've necessarily rejected your totality. It may just be that they don't want to do that particular thing. You may be into going out into the middle of the ocean and jumping off a boat and swimming into the water. Your partner might be absolutely frightened of being in the middle of the ocean. I'm frightened of being in the middle of the ocean, right? Even though I love my partner, I'm just not going to do that. So I think enthusiasm is really one of those keys that I think a lot of people don't really exercise, but I think it really does help the quality of a relationship. And the third one is encouragement. I was listening to a podcast 2 days ago, I think it was, and one of the things that the man was saying is that he was talking about the fact that when to know when you should let go of an idea. And one of the things that he was saying is that if the idea doesn't leave you and the idea keeps reinforcing itself over and over and over again over a period of time, then that thing is significant. And what I've come to realize is encouragement is something I'm going to have to write a book about one day, because it just is not leaving me, right? I keep finding that the word encouragement comes up over and over and over and over and over and over again in various situations, whether those situations be somebody wanting to become successful, whether it be one of the causes of depression, whether it be one of the keys to a great family relationship, a key to our great friendships. I've noticed time and time again, encouragement comes up. And it was no surprise when I was interviewing and speaking to people who've been together a long time that they encourage each other more than other people do, right? Encouraging each other might mean leaving little notes for your partner saying, look, I know that you're going through a really difficult time at the moment. I know that you've got this project which is really important to you. I absolutely love you. I support you. You're doing great work. Sometimes encouraging your partner might be joining their crusade. So they say they're going to be fasting. You hate fasting. It's not really your thing, but you actually join them. Sometimes encouragement might be your partner's told you that they don't like shopping, and then you've gone and done the shopping for them without telling them. Or it may be even the fact that that you become more spontaneous about something, or an area of your relationship. And I'm just saying to you, it may be something that you may not be practicing, encouraging your partner. You may be thinking, yeah, but they're an adult, they're mature. Why in the world would I encourage them? But you will tend to find that people are all humans, whether they're in a relationship, whether they're 50, whether they're 21, every single one of us needs encouragement in one form or another. Now, in me saying this, again, this does not mean you then go to the extreme side of things where you become patronizing, where you start making the other person feel like they're belittled or they're dumb. But it has, again, to come from that place of seeing the person's humanity, wanting the best for your partner. So those are the three things. I don't know whether those are useful or not, but there are three that I thought you might want to think about, and maybe they might be useful to you in your life somehow. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.